Yeah, hello tech guys, how is it going right there? I'm Babs and this is AI Info Tech channel where we will deal with technicality in technology. We talk about techs, we explain and educate people newbies on technology, on any app or any class or any technology classes for what or better understand. We break down every information into a word into an understandable way for the viewers to understand what we are talking, that even the word, even layman can understand what we are actually talking about. We've started this class recently and we've done a lot to this point. Now is IP addressing. IP addressing is one of the most important thing in in tech, in networking. IP address is used everywhere when it comes to uh when it comes to connecting to each other, connecting to oneself, connecting to anybody in the world. IP address is the core, as in is the address, is the word, is a unique identifier that is needed over the internet for you to communicate over the world, over the network. So it's very important and it's a core stuff when it comes to when it comes to technology. Now let me explain this to you. Let me break it down to you. You may wish to send a message to everyone on the network, and the same way you may wish to send a circular multiplier recipient, but you are also likely to want to send a message to a specific recipient. That's where addressing comes in IP networking. This comes in in the form of an IP address. Now look at it in this way. When you are sending the news, you want to send um a post, like Google want to send you your pin. Let's take it from that angle. Your address, they will need your address, like the address of where you are staying, so that mail could reach you and then the mailer will be able to bring it down to you. So that's how IP address is. You want to connect to a network, there must be something that is identifying you in the network that you will need to connect with in order to get in order to get the message, or in order to connect to the network, so that it could be able to send the message you want to send. Okay, now an IP address is a software address, not a hardware address. Now we have the hardware address. The hardware is what has to do with MAC address. MAC at the media access card is a media access. If you want, I'll show you after this video. I'll show you in this video what a IP address is, where you can locate an IP address, when you can how you can assign an IP address. Is very important in this video. But I would like to first explain to you what an IP address is and go deeply in explaining for your better understanding. Now there's a difference between the MAC address and the IP address. The MAC address is the unique identifier that is identifying your computer. That's hardware. But the software, when you are trying to identify yourself over the internet, is the IP address that does that. Now the latter is hard coded on a network interface, which is called the network card. The interface, if you are using a desktop, you could see the word when you are trying to plug in your Ethernet cable to your desktop. You will see the interface you are plugging it in is a network card. That's the NIC, network interface card, and used for finding host on a local network. When I said host, it means a computer. So don't think I'm using a hard term here. On a local network. IP address was designed to allow hosts on one network to communicate with the hosts on a different network, regardless of the type of local area network the hosts are participating in. Now this thing is used in order to make communication goes on, so that you'll be able to access google.com, facebook.com. you'll be able to access all this thing. To make it effect, you need an IP address, and you can only get this IP address if and only you are connected to Ethernet, like a model. If you're connected to a model or connected to a Wi-Fi, that's where you can access the IP address. Now throughout this video, I'll introduce several important terms that are that are very, very vital in what in this class. Now, for your better understanding, now you could see what is these that you are saying. They looks like 10, 2, 3, 4. Oh, are we singing 1, 2, 3 yet? No. So what does this that represent? You are seeing 1 and 0. It actually represents for 8-bit numbers ranging from 0 to what to 25. Now I will explain this to you thoroughly. Now, a bit is 1 digit, either a 1 or a 0. Now a byte is a 7 or 8 bits, depending on whether parity is used. For the rest of this video, always assume a byte is 8 bits. Just understand that. Now this is the way you can assign an IP address. You can create an IP address yourself. You could imagine all these numbers here turning out to be this. That's the work of decimal number. Now I won't go into this now because I don't have a whiteboard that I can use to narrate this, but I will try my possible best to make you understand what this thing is all about. Now, when you are hearing octet, an octet made up of 8 bits is just an ordinary 8-bit binary number. Can you see? Let's count it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an octet. Are you getting me now? It's an 8-bit binary number. In this video, an octet are completely interchangeable. Now, network address, this is the designation used in routing to send packets to a remote network. For example, this is it here. Can you see the word in network? This is 10.2.3.4. This is an IP address, and what it refers to as the class A IP address. I'll explain better in this video. Now, the hierarchical IP address scheme. An IP address consists of 32 bits of information. These bits are divided into 4 sections, referred to as octet or bytes, with each containing 1 byte, which is 8-bit. You can deceive an IP address using one of the 3 methods: dotted decimal, binary, and hexadecimal. Now, all these examples represent the same IP address which you are seeing right here. Are you getting me now? Pertaining to IP address, hexadecimal is not used as often as dotted decimal or binary, but you still might find an IP address stored in hexadecimal in some programs. Now that is IP address. Now, the network address, which can also be called the network number, uniquely identify each network. Every machine on the same network shares that network address as part of its IP addresses. For example, in the IP address, this IP address that you are seeing here, the 10.2.3.4 is the IP address, and the 10.2 identify the network address, while the rest is known as is identify the node, is the node portion. When I say node, I mean the computer. Now is assigned to and uniquely identify each machine on the network. This part of the address must be uniquely because it identifies a particular machine. An individual as opposed to a network, which is a group. This number can also be referred to as host address in the same IP address. Now that's that on IP addressing. I said we have classes of IP address which I want to explain to you. This is how an IP address looks like. Can you see an IP address? This is the MAC address. Can you see the MAC address? This is for what? This is software. It is the unique identifier that is respects to you in the internet. Why this is is your unique identifier that is identifying your devices on the network. That is the MAC address. The MAC address connects with the IP address. The IP address connects with the MAC address in order to give you what you actually needed. That's that on IP address. So every IP address has a subnet mask. This is subnet mask here. The subnet mask is the one that helps you to segment a network in the internet. Now that's that on now we have type of IP address, which I'm going to explain to you deeply here. Unicast IP address, an address of a single interface The IP address of this type are used for one-to-one communication. Unique IP address are used to direct packets to a specific host. Now, this is an IP address. An IP address that is what? You send a request and the server will receive it. That's the type of unicast. That's a one-way communication. That's that on a unicast. And we have a multicast address used for one-to-many communication. So it's beginning from the router to the switches and to the network. It is used for many as 24 computer on a switch, depending on how you are laying it, in which I will further show you the practical aspect of this class. Now, the multicast message are sent to an IP multicast group address. Router forward copies of this packet out to every interface. Every NIC, network interface card that has a host subscribed to that group address. Only the host that need to receive the message will process the packet. All other hosts on the LAN will be discarded. Now, this is what it does when you are connected in the multicast group. It's sent directly to the interface that is connected to that group, and every other group will not get any network. That's where segmentation comes in. Now I will explain that further on in this course. Now we have the broadcast IP address. These are used to send data to all possible destination in the broadcast domain. The broadcast address for a network has all those in bits on on. Now this is a broadcast. It is used to send as many as hosts in that network. It can broadcast. It can bring that a broadcast network into a segmentation. I made mention of segmentation in my earlier class. I said is when you are breaking down a large network into a smaller network. I will show you in practical. Do not worry about that. Okay. Now I'm discussing this with you. I talk about subnet mask. Subnet mask is a 32-bit number that marks an IP address and divide the IP address into a network address and host address. Subnet mask is made by setting network bit to all and setting host bit to all, which is 0. Within a given network, 2 host addresses are reserved for special purpose and cannot be assigned to hosts. The address is assigned a network address, and 25 is assigned to 255 is assigned to a broadcast address, and they cannot be assigned to hosts. Now that's what subnet mask is. Now I was talking about the classes of IP address. Now the best thing you could just understand, you should know the type of addresses you want to use. If you are using a class A IP address, you choose class A, and if you are using class B, you choose a class B. Now this is very very tactical. Now I will explain to you what class A is. This is the network portion and the host portion. When I was talking about when you have an IP address, which I have showed you earlier on, like the 10.0.0.2, the 10.0 signifies in the class A area. The word is only the first one that is showing for the network portion, and the rest are for the host. This can connect millions of computer. This class A IP address. Now let me explain what class A is. The designer of this IP address scheme decided that the first bit of the first byte is class A network must always be off or O. This means a class A address must be between 0 and 127. Now in the first bit. Now this address is very powerful. It can as I said, can you see where the host is? Host means there's still a lot of number that you can connect to that you can use to connect to the to the computer. Is this host? Host means computer, and the network is only one here. When you are saying the class B can only use the 2, which is the 10.0. Class B, you can use the class B. The class B IP address speak from 192 or 191 to to 128 to 191. That's what the class B IP address. Now this address can connect hundreds, no, thousands. I mean, this will connect to million and this will connect thousands. And the last one here, which is the class C, we connect hundreds of what of computer. So you choose wisely which one is which one you want to use. Once you are able to identify these classes of IP address, then you will be able to know how to use it and assign it to your computer. And we also have the D and E. D and E is for research and experiment, which are not being used in this scheme. That's that on the classes of IP address. Now we are moving forward. Okay, I said the ranges of the classes. The class A string from 1 to 126, which connects millions, as I've said. The class B string from 128 to 191 and connect thousands. And this class C is 192 to 223, which can connect only 100 of hosts. That's the ranges of the IP address. Now the example of an IP address with subnet mask is in decimal format. Now look at this. Now this is why they use this is how they use it. This is how it's being used generally. Can you see 10.10.10.10? This is the class A IP address, and this is the subnet mask. Can you see the subnet mask is 255.0.0.0, which means it can collect millions of of computer. And the 172.168.1.1 is the class B, which can collect thousands of computer. Can you see 255.255? Can you see the 0 turned to 255 here and 0.0? The half of it is the half of this. Sorry, the half of this is this happens to be the network portion, and this happens to be the node portion. This happens to be the network portion, and the rest happens to be the node portion. Now this is the network portion and the node portion. Can you see the sixth string from 192.168.1.1 to the subnet mask? Can you see 255.255.255.0? That is the IP addressing. So I'll continue in this video as I press the next button. Okay guys, I would like to further explain to you what this is. Now we have two version of IP addressing. We have the IPv4 and the IPv6, and the mostly that is being used widely is the IPv4 version. Now the IPv4 address type, most people use this term broadcast as a generic, and most of the time we understand that they mean but not always. For example, you might say the host broadcasted to a router to a DHCP server, but it's pretty unlikely that this will work with every really happens. Now forget about the story. Let me make an illustration of what IPv4 does. I will do it in by shutting down this slide and move further to my to my network here. I'll connect to my Wi-Fi and show you how this works in a concise way. Then I will go deeply into this version, explaining how it works and other things that has to do with it. Okay, I'm not connected yet. Okay, I'll show you how you can assign an IP address in this video. I'll just show you what an IPv4 is and the different type of way you can connect an IP address. I'll show you what it's all about. Now firstly, before I commence into this video, I'll first show you how you can generate your IP address using a CMD. Okay, I'll say, okay, let me just use the Windows how to get the button out, the CMD. And you see, to get your IP address using the syntax IP config, to get out your to get out your IP address, IP config, then press enter. Can you see, this is the IP address, this is my IP address, and I'm using version 4, which is the 32-bit 32-bit octet, I mean 32-bit binary. Now this is my subnet mask. Can you see my subnet mask is 255.255.0, which means I'm using the class C ranges of IP address, which I showed you earlier on in the slide. This is my IP address 192.168.43.22.232, which is the class C IP address, and the default gateway, which is the router IP address. That is how you can check your IP address using the IP config command. Now let me disconnect this and show you what happens when I press this. You will see that without you connecting into the network, there's no way you can generate an IP address. You will see it will be all blank. Okay, so I'll close this back and I will see I'll press the word CMD, I mean Windows out, then CMD, then enter. I'll say IP config, and let's see if it's going to bring out the IP address. Can you see there is no IP address simply because I'm not connected to the network. Okay, now I will go back and connect to my network and show you what this is. I'll show you the version and as well show you the different ways you can connect to the internet, and I will end the class. Okay guys, now I'll right click, I'll go to open network and show you settings. So when I get there, I'll come to the Ethernet. Okay, then you say change adapter option. Okay, now I'm using Wi-Fi. I'm not dealing with the Wi-Fi. I want to show you through the Ethernet. I'm connected to this. I want to show you to the Ethernet. This is if you are connected locally. I'm not connected locally. I'm not using a cable to my computer. That's why this word is cancelled. Now I'll go to properties. Once I go to properties, now I will explain better what I'm saying here. The version of an IP address. I was talking about the TCP IP in one of my nuggets when I was explaining the layers of the network, which is the OSI module. I was talking about the TCP, transmission control protocol, which is used to transmit. Now this is where I talk about you choosing the medium in which you want the packet to be transmitted from the source to the destination, and this is where we come about the version of the IP address. Can you see it all work hand in hand? Now if you want to choose the internet protocol, this is the version 4, which has the 32 bits, and I've explained the IP address ranges in this version for you, and this is this. So what you do, and we have before I move further, I will also have the internet protocol version 6. The internet protocol version 6 is the latest of the internet protocol that provides communication across diverse interconnected network. Now this has a very long bit, 128 bits. That's it. Now generally what people use is this. They don't use this. Are you getting it now? So in this I'm going to choose IP version 4, then go to properties. Okay, now I was talking about the different kind of ways you can connect to your network. Okay guys, look at this. You can get an IP settings assigned automatically if your network support the capability. Now there's two ways you can connect you can connect your IP address. You can connect statically or dynamically, or you can say APIPA. When I say APIPA, automatic assign of an IP address. Now if you are trying to assign to if you are trying to obtain your IP address automatically, you are asking the DHCP server to pull from the list of IP address and give you one for you to connect over the network. The DHCP means dynamic host configuration protocol server. This is a server that contains a lot of IP address to connect over the network. That's mean that you don't need you don't need to give an IP address to this button when you are using this format. You don't need to put any IP address, because the DHCP server will give you IP address. Then you shift to this one to obtain automatically, and when you click OK, then you'll be given an IP address automatically, and it is mostly used in the Wi-Fi environment. Now if you're using on a server, you have to do the other way around. Okay guys, now if you are trying to use the static is you click on the use the static IP address, then you assign an IP address 192, which is I'm going to be using the classic IP address 192.168.10.505. okay, see, automatically I'm going to generate automatically. You don't need to assign you don't need to assign the subnet mask. The subnet mask will automatically come itself using based on the ranges you use. Can you see? Unless you put the wrong one. Now look at it and be careful that you don't give your default gateway, the IP address to your router. You don't give it to this place. The default gateway is the IP address to your router. Sorry about that. So now you can give it and mostly the default, the router IP address mostly comes with 192.168 the .1 then .1. okay, that's that on gateway. Okay, now this is the network portion of the IP address, and this is the node portion of the IP address. They work together in order to connect you to the internet. Okay guys, what else will I show you? Okay, that's that on that. If you are if you are just joining, you could check the previous video so you can understand better what I have been talking about. And if you are just joining, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you all can use the comment section to tell me your concern, and I will try my possible best to tell you what it is. If there's anything I did not mention in this video and you'd like me to talk more about it, which is important, maybe it skipped my mind, it skipped my brain, and then I was unable to talk about it, please kindly let me know, and I'll try my possible best to okay, can you see that I'm not connected to a router, so I will remove this. I'll remove this because I'm not connected to a router. Don't worry, we have a lot to do. I have a lot of videos to a lot to show you. So you just stay connected, click on the subscribe button, and we'll click on the notification so you'll be the first person to see my video whenever I post. I have a lot of practical video to show you after I show these nuggets. After I'm through with this nugget, I have a lot of videos, practical video. I'm a practical person, so you don't worry. I'll show you a lot of practical of how you can configure a router, how you can do a lot of things, those protocols, how you can assign those protocols in your router, how you can give those syntax right, make them connect and work, and I will give you the best experience. So kindly click on the subscribe button and help me to reach 50,000 before the end of 50,000 subscribers. Yes, please, before the end of this before the end of this year. And what, don't forget to watch my ad. Do not skip it. This is the only way you can continue to encourage me to do this. Thank you. Don't forget to like and share to those who also need it. Can you see that as what I'm going? So and that, thank you, and bye bye. See you until the next one.